Hello there, and welcome to Restful Realities. Tonight, we're traveling to the City of Angels, Los Angeles, where the Pacific Ocean kisses golden shores and dreams take shape beneath endless skies. As you settle into comfort, let the gentle rhythm of these stories carry you through the fascinating history and hidden wonders of this remarkable place. If your eyes grow heavy, that's perfectly fine. Just let yourself drift as we explore together. Right now, as January 2026 unfolds, Los Angeles finds itself at an extraordinary crossroads of anticipation and preparation. Just this week, the city witnessed something remarkable when Olympic ticket registration opened for the 2028 Games. Within hours, the website experienced overwhelming demand as people from around the world sought their chance to witness history. The servers strained under the weight of millions of hopeful visitors, all dreaming of being part of something that happens only once in a generation. The opening ceremony will unfold across two iconic venues: the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, where the Olympic flame burned in 1932 and 1984, and the modern marvel of SoFi Stadium. These games promise to be different from any before. The first in Olympic history, where no new permanent infrastructure is being built. A testament to Los Angeles' existing grandeur and its commitment to sustainable celebration. The anticipation ripples through every corner of the city. In September of this year, the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art will open its doors in Exposition Park, a 300,000 square foot building designed by Ma Yan Song that seems to float above 11 acres of new green space. George Lucas and Melody Hobson's vision will finally materialize, bringing together storytelling through every medium, from ancient manuscripts to modern cinema. Just blocks away, the David Geffen Galleries at LACMA will welcome visitors in April, ending a construction journey that began in 2020 and was conceived over a decade before. The building, designed to complement the California Light, represents a new chapter for one of the nation's premier art institutions. Meanwhile, travelers arriving at Los Angeles International Airport await the completion of the automated people mover, a 2.25-mile elevated train line that promises to finally connect the airport terminals directly to the metro system. No more shuttle buses, no more confusion, just smooth, automated transit gliding above the notorious traffic. The project, delayed multiple times with fingers crossed for a mid-2026 debut, will transform how millions of visitors first experience the city. And for those with refined palates, the culinary world watches as Noma, the 3 Michelin-starred Copenhagen restaurant, prepares for its Los Angeles residency sometime this year, though details remain shrouded in anticipation and the certainty that reservations will vanish in mere minutes. But to truly understand Los Angeles, we must travel back through the corridors of time, back before the freeways and film studios, before the Spanish missions, to when the land spoke only in indigenous voices. Long before any European had glimpsed these shores, the Tongva people made this basin their home. Their ancestors had lived here for thousands of years, developing sophisticated societies along the Los Angeles River and across the coastal plains. They called their main village Yanga, though historians debate the exact translation. Some sources suggest it means place of the poison oak, while others propose valley of smoke, perhaps referring to the morning mist that rose from the basin or the cooking fires that dotted the landscape at dawn. The Tongva built houses from willow branches and tule reeds, created intricate trade networks that stretched across Southern California, and maintained a deep spiritual connection to the land that sustained them. On August 2, 1769, this timeless rhythm encountered its first disruption when Spanish explorer Gaspar de Portola and Franciscan missionary Juan Crespi arrived in the area. They were moving northward from Mexico, part of Spain's ambitious expansion into Alta California. Portola's expedition was struck by the richness of the valley, the flowing river, the abundant oak trees, and the gentle climate that seemed to promise prosperity. 2 years later, in 1771, Father Junipero Serra established the mission San Gabriel Archangel, 9 miles northeast of what would become downtown Los Angeles. The mission system would fundamentally alter the indigenous way of life, drawing Native Americans into a new world of colonial religion and labor. Then came September 4th, 1781. On this date, which now stands as Los Angeles' official birthday, a group of 44 settlers arrived from the Mexican provinces of Sonora and Sinaloa, led by Spanish Governor Felipe de Neve. This small band represented one of the most ethnically diverse founding groups of any major American city. Among them were only 2 Spaniards. The rest were a mixture of indigenous peoples, Africans, and mestizos of mixed ancestry. There was Manuel Camero, 30 years old, who would serve as a city councilman. Maria Garcia, 24, who brought her children to this new frontier. Jose Marino, 22, full of hope for a new life. Liz Quintero, 55, one of the oldest settlers, bringing a lifetime of experience to the endeavor. They gathered in solemn ceremony, or so tradition tells us, processing slowly around a designated plaza as priests offered blessings and Governor de Neve delivered formal remarks about their mission. The exact details of September 4th, 1781 remain somewhat unclear in historical records, though this date was officially recorded as the Pueblo's founding. What's certain is that they named their settlement El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora, La Reina de Los Angeles de Porciúncula, the town of Our Lady, the Queen of the Angels of Porciúncula, after a chapel in Italy sacred to Saint Francis of Assisi. Each family received a plot of land, roughly 7 acres for agriculture, along with livestock, tools, and supplies. Their first dwellings were simple structures with rawhide doors and no glass in the windows. The streets, such as they were, became pools of mud in winter and clouds of dust in summer. But from these humble beginnings, something extraordinary would eventually emerge. For decades, Los Angeles remained a sleepy outpost. By 1800, only 315 people called it home, living in 30 adobe houses clustered around the plaza. The settlement served primarily as a way station, providing supplies to Spanish military garrisons scattered across California. Life moved at the pace of agricultural seasons, with cattle ranching gradually becoming the dominant economic activity. Then in 1821, Mexico achieved independence from Spain, and Los Angeles found itself under new governance. The Mexican period brought changes. The secularization of mission lands, the growth of vast ranchos, and an influx of traders from the United States and Europe who recognized opportunities in this remote but pleasant corner of the continent. In 1835, the Mexican Congress officially declared Los Angeles a city, making it the capital of Alta California. For a brief moment, this dusty pueblo was the governmental heart of a vast territory. But greater changes loomed on the horizon. In 1846, during the Mexican-American War, American forces under Commodore Robert Stockton and Captain John C. Fremont occupied Los Angeles. The American flag rose over the plaza on August 13, 1846, though resistance continued for several more months. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed on February 2, 1848, formally ceded Alta California to the United States. Los Angeles would never be the same. What transformed Los Angeles from a town of a few thousand into one of the world's great cities was a combination of factors as varied as the landscape itself. The city stretches across 502.7 square miles, sprawling across a coastal plain surrounded by mountains. To the north rise the San Gabriel Mountains, their peaks sometimes dusted with snow, even as palm trees sway in the valleys below. To the west, the Santa Monica Mountains divide the Los Angeles Basin from the San Fernando Valley. The city's elevation varies dramatically. From 9 feet below sea level in Wilmington to over 10,000 feet atop Mount San Antonio, known affectionately as Mount Baldy. This geographic diversity created a unique Mediterranean climate that would prove to be one of Los Angeles' greatest assets. The city basks in sunshine, an average of 329 days per year. Summer temperatures hover comfortably in the mid-70s to low 80s Fahrenheit, while winters rarely dip below the 60s. Annual precipitation averages only about 15 inches, nearly all of it falling between November and April. The dry summer months stretch from May through October, when clear skies and warm breezes define the daily rhythm. The Pacific Ocean moderates temperatures along the coast, while inland valleys experience more dramatic temperature swings. This climate, often described as perfect, would eventually draw millions seeking sunshine, health, and opportunity. If you're still with us, that's wonderful. If you're drifting, let yourself go. And wherever you're watching from, whether you're in Los Angeles itself or on the other side of the world, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell us where you're resting tonight. The transformation of Los Angeles from sleepy Pueblo to bustling city began in earnest after California joined the Union on September 9, 1850. The city itself was incorporated on April 4, 1850, just 5 months before statehood. In the 1870s, Los Angeles was still little more than a village of 5,000 residents. But by 1900, that number had exploded to over 100,000. What caused such dramatic growth? The answer lies in the arrival of the railroad. In 1876, the Southern Pacific Railroad connected Los Angeles to the rest of the nation. 9 years later, in 1885, the Santa Fe Railroad arrived, and the resulting competition between the two lines drove fares so low that people could travel to California for almost nothing. A great migration began. The railroad brought not just people but ideas, capital, and ambition. Entrepreneurs recognized the potential of this sun-drenched land. They promoted Los Angeles aggressively to Easterners, selling the promise of health, prosperity, and a new beginning. The city became a destination for those suffering from tuberculosis and other respiratory ailments, who believed the dry air would cure them. Orange groves spread across the landscape, their fragrant blossoms becoming synonymous with Southern California. The citrus industry boomed, with Los Angeles becoming one of the nation's largest producers of oranges and lemons. The Farmers and Merchants Bank, founded in 1871, provided the financial infrastructure for this growth. Then came oil. In 1892, Edward L. Doheny and Charles A. Canfield discovered oil within the Los Angeles City oil field, north of downtown. The discovery happened quite by accident, as Doheny, a former gold prospector who had struggled in the mountains, noticed tar seeping from the ground near what is now Dodger Stadium. He and Canfield pooled their meager resources and began digging by hand, using a sharpened eucalyptus trunk as a primitive drilling tool. At just 155 feet, they struck oil. That single well would change everything. What started as one modest operation quickly multiplied into a frenzy. Within months, derricks sprouted across the landscape like metallic forests, their skeletal structures rising above Victorian houses and vacant lots. The sound of drilling became the city's new rhythm, a constant percussion of industry and ambition. Oil wells appeared in residential neighborhoods, in backyards, even in downtown business districts. At the height of the boom, you could stand in certain parts of the city and count hundreds of derricks stretching to the horizon. The Los Angeles City oil field, the Salt Lake oil field, the Huntington Beach oil field. Each discovery bringing more investment, more workers, more transformation. By the early 1900s, Los Angeles had become one of the world's leading oil producers, second only to Pennsylvania in American production. The black gold brought immense wealth that cascaded through every level of society. Oil money built ornate Victorian mansions along Bunker Hill and in neighborhoods like West Adams. It funded the construction of grand theaters downtown, elaborate hotels, and the infrastructure of a modern metropolis. The oil industry employed thousands directly and created auxiliary businesses, machine shops, refineries, shipping companies. Working-class neighborhoods grew up around the oil fields, their residents' lives dictated by the boom and bust cycles of petroleum extraction. The smell of crude oil and tar became as characteristic of Los Angeles as orange blossoms, a dual identity of natural beauty and industrial power. But water was the true key to Los Angeles' expansion. And this element's story is perhaps more dramatic than oil's. The city's growth was fundamentally limited by the semi-arid climate and the modest, unreliable flow of the Los Angeles River. During dry summers, the river sometimes dwindled to a mere trickle. The surrounding mountains, though beautiful, held little water in their streams. The Santa Monica Mountains were too low to capture significant rainfall, and the San Gabriel Mountains, while higher, released their water in unpredictable torrents rather than steady flows. As the population swelled past 100,000, then 200,000, city leaders recognized that without a dramatic solution, growth would inevitably stall. The answer lay over 200 miles to the north, in the Owens Valley, a high desert basin east of the Sierra Nevada. There, the Owens River flowed reliably year-round, fed by snowmelt from the towering peaks. In a story that remains controversial to this day, city water department officials, working with considerable secrecy, and some would say deception, acquired water rights and land in the Owens Valley. Ranchers and farmers who had settled the valley, believing it would support agricultural development, found themselves outmaneuvered by urban interests, backed by far greater financial and political power. In 1913, after years of planning, political battles, and massive construction efforts, the Los Angeles Aqueduct began delivering water from the Owens Valley. Chief Engineer William Mulholland oversaw this engineering marvel that involved constructing 142 tunnels through mountains, 12 miles of inverted siphons carrying water across valleys, and countless miles of open channel. The project employed thousands of workers who toiled in brutal desert conditions, dealing with extreme heat, dangerous tunnel collapses, and the constant threat of equipment failures. The construction camps that housed these workers became temporary towns, complete with their own social structures, occasional violence, and the camaraderie that develops among those engaged in difficult, dangerous work. When water first cascaded down into the San Fernando Valley on November 5, 1913, Mulholland's words were brief but prophetic. "There it is. Take it," he told the assembled crowd. That water made possible the city's explosive growth throughout the 20th century. The San Fernando Valley, which had been farmland punctuated by small towns, could now support massive residential development. Areas that had been too dry for anything but sparse ranching could suddenly sustain orange groves, suburban lawns, and swimming pools. The population, freed from water constraints, expanded inexorably. Yet this triumph came at significant cost. The Owens Valley, its water diverted to Los Angeles, saw its economy collapse. Lakes dried up, including Owens Lake, which had supported abundant wildlife. The exposed lakebed became a major source of toxic dust storms. Farmers and ranchers, seeing their livelihoods destroyed, sometimes resorted to desperate measures, including dynamiting sections of the aqueduct in protest. The conflict between Los Angeles and the Owens Valley became known as the California Water Wars, a bitter struggle between urban growth and rural survival that continues to echo in state water politics. The story would later inspire Roman Polanski's film Chinatown, which, though fictionalized, captured the essence of the power dynamics and moral ambiguities involved in water acquisition. As the city grew physically, It also began attracting the industry that would make it famous worldwide, transforming Los Angeles into a name synonymous with dreams and imagination. In the early 1900s, filmmakers from the East Coast began relocating to Los Angeles for several compelling reasons, each contributing to an inevitable westward migration of an entire industry. First, the year-round sunshine provided ideal conditions for outdoor filming, crucial in the days before electric lighting became practical or affordable for movie production. Natural light was the cinematographer's only reliable tool, and Los Angeles offered it in abundance. Directors could schedule shoots with confidence, knowing that rain or clouds were unlikely to interrupt their work for months at a time. Second, the varied landscapes around Los Angeles, from beaches to mountains to deserts, offered diverse backdrops for different kinds of stories, all within a day's drive. A Western could be filmed in the Mojave Desert one week, a beach romance at Malibu the next, and a mountain adventure in the San Gabriel Range the week after, all without the expense and logistical nightmares of distant location shooting. The city's architecture, too, ranged from Spanish missions to Victorian houses to modern commercial buildings, providing authentic settings for stories set in different times and places. Third, and perhaps most importantly, distance from New Jersey provided an escape from Thomas Edison's motion picture patents company, which controlled many film equipment patents and frequently sued independent producers who dared to make movies without licensing his technology. Edison's legal reach was powerful on the East Coast, where courts could quickly shut down production and seize equipment. But in California, 3,000 miles away, Edison's lawyers moved more slowly, and sympathetic local courts were less inclined to enforce patent claims against an industry bringing jobs and prestige to their region. If Edison's agents did appear, a quick move across the border to Mexico provided temporary refuge until the threat passed dot in 1910. The city of Hollywood, which had been incorporated independently in 1903 as a quiet residential community, merged with Los Angeles. The merger happened primarily because Hollywood needed access to Los Angeles' water supply, as the smaller city's wells couldn't support its growing population. At the time, Hollywood had 10 operating movie companies. Within a decade, more than 80% of the world's film industry would be concentrated in Los Angeles. The transformation happened with breathtaking speed. The first studio in Hollywood opened in October 1911, when the New Jersey-based Centaur Film Company established Nestor Film Company in a roadhouse at 6121 Sunset Boulevard at the corner of Gower Street. The location was ideal, near the trolley line, with open land for outdoor sets, and close enough to downtown Los Angeles for necessary supplies. Soon, the major studios that would dominate cinema for generations established themselves, building vast production facilities that functioned as self-contained cities. Paramount Pictures, Warner Bros., Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Universal, Columbia, RKO, and 20th Century Fox all set up operations, each developing distinctive styles and specialties. MGM became known for lavish musicals and prestigious dramas. Warner Bros. Pioneered gangster films and social problem pictures. Universal specialized in horror films, creating iconic monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Paramount attracted sophisticated European directors and produced elegant comedies and romantic dramas. These studios weren't just production facilities but integrated entertainment empires. They owned the sound stages where films were shot, the laboratories where film was processed, the distribution companies that delivered movies to theaters, and often the theaters themselves. This vertical integration gave them enormous power and profit margins. Under the studio system, actors, directors, writers, and technicians were all employees under contract, working exclusively for one studio, often for years at a time. The studio controlled their careers, their public images, even their personal lives. The 1920s and 1930s are often called Hollywood's Golden Age, a period when cinema evolved from a novelty into the dominant form of popular entertainment. The studio system reached its apex, with major studios controlling every aspect of film production, distribution, and exhibition. Stars like Charlie Chaplin, whose genius for physical comedy needed no dialogue; Mary Pickford, America's sweetheart who wielded considerable business power; Douglas Fairbanks, the athletic hero of adventure films; and later, Clark Gable, whose roguish charm defined masculinity for a generation; Joan Crawford, who embodied ambition and glamour; and Katharine Hepburn, whose independence and intelligence challenged conventional female roles. All became global icons. These performers weren't just famous. They were mythological figures, larger than life, carefully crafted by studio publicity departments into idealized versions of humanity. The Hollywood sign itself emerged during this period. Originally erected in 1923 as an advertisement for a housing development called Hollywoodland in the Hollywood Hills, each letter stood 50 feet tall, made of wood and sheet metal, illuminated by 4,000 light bulbs. The sign cost $21,000 to construct, a significant sum at the time, and was intended to last only a year and a half. Instead, as Hollywood's fame grew, the sign became an enduring symbol, representing not just a place, but an idea, the notion that dreams could come true, that talent and persistence could overcome humble origins. In 1949, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce entered a contract with the city of Los Angeles to repair and rebuild the sign, removing the "vand" portion so it would refer to the district rather than the housing development. Over the decades, the sign deteriorated and was rebuilt multiple times, most notably in 1978, when Hugh Hefner and other donors funded a complete reconstruction. Using steel and concrete, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences held its first Academy Awards ceremony in 1929 at a dinner in the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, attended by about 270 guests. Winners had been announced 3 months earlier, and the ceremony lasted only 15 minutes. But this modest beginning launched a tradition that would become one of the world's most watched television events. The Oscars represented Hollywood's attempt at self-legitimation, positioning film not just as entertainment, but as art worthy of serious recognition. The golden statuette, designed by sculptor George Stanley, became one of the world's most recognized symbols. By the late 1930s, the motion picture industry employed tens of thousands of people directly, from stars earning millions to grips earning a few dollars a day, and created countless auxiliary jobs in restaurants, hotels, real estate, and the many businesses that served the industry. Studios generated hundreds of millions of dollars annually, making Hollywood one of America's most valuable exports. Movies played in theaters around the world, spreading American culture, values, and style. Los Angeles had become the undisputed entertainment capital of the world, a title it maintains, though challenged, to this day. The city's influence extended far beyond film. The music industry flourished alongside the movies. Recording studios sprang up across Los Angeles, capturing jazz, blues, swing, and later rock and roll. The Capitol Records building, with its distinctive round tower, opened on Vine Street in 1956, becoming an architectural icon. Legendary venues like the Hollywood Bowl, built in 1922, and the Greek Theater, opened in 1929, hosted concerts under the stars, taking advantage of that perfect climate. The Sunset Strip developed into a legendary stretch of nightclubs and music venues where careers were made and lost. Angeles also hosted the Olympic Games for the first time in 1932, during the depths of the Great Depression. Despite the economic hardship, the city managed to stage a successful event that introduced many innovations, including the first Olympic Village and the first use of a victory podium. The Games generated international attention and helped establish Los Angeles as a world-class city. Half a century later, in 1984, Los Angeles hosted the Olympics again, this time generating $223 million in profit and establishing a new model for how the Games could be financially successful. Now, as 2028 approaches, the city prepares to welcome the Olympics for a third time throughout the mid-20th century. Los Angeles continued its relentless expansion. The San Fernando Valley, once a landscape of orange groves and ranches, transformed into a sprawling suburban expanse. New neighborhoods appeared seemingly overnight, each with their own character. Westwood grew around UCLA, which had relocated from downtown Los Angeles to its current location in 1929. Venice, originally developed in 1905 as a beach resort complete with canals modeled after Venice, Italy evolved into a bohemian enclave. Santa Monica, technically a separate city, developed as an elegant beach community. Pasadena, famous for its Rose Bowl and Rose Parade, maintained its identity as an affluent suburb with strong ties to science and technology, thanks to institutions like Caltech and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The automobile culture that came to define Los Angeles emerged during this period. The city's sprawling geography and the failure to maintain its once extensive streetcar network made cars essential. In 1940, the Arroyo Seco Parkway, later renamed the Pasadena Freeway, opened as the first freeway in the western United States. It connected downtown Los Angeles to Pasadena, representing a transitional phase between early scenic parkways and the modern interstate system. More freeways followed: the Hollywood Freeway, the Santa Monica Freeway, the San Diego Freeway, and others carved through the landscape, enabling rapid movement across vast distances, but also contributing to the traffic congestion and air pollution that would plague the region. The city's diverse population grew even more varied as waves of immigration continued throughout the 20th century, each group adding new flavors, traditions, and perspectives to the evolving Los Angeles identity. The early Mexican and European populations were joined by African Americans who moved west during the Great Migration, particularly during and after World War II, seeking opportunities in the defense industries that boomed as California became the nation's arsenal. Shipyards in San Pedro and Long Beach, aircraft factories in Burbank and Hawthorne, and military installations throughout the region created thousands of jobs. African Americans found work, though they also encountered housing discrimination through restrictive covenants that barred them from many neighborhoods, forcing concentration in areas like South Central and Watts. Asian immigrants, particularly Japanese, Chinese, and Filipinos, established vibrant communities despite facing severe discrimination, exclusionary laws, and in the tragic case of Japanese Americans, the trauma of internment during World War II. Over 110,000 Japanese Americans living on the West Coast were forcibly removed from their homes and imprisoned in camps scattered across remote areas of the American West. Many lost their businesses, homes, and possessions. Yet after the war, survivors returned to Los Angeles and rebuilt, demonstrating resilience that would come to characterize many immigrant experiences in the city. Little Tokyo, which had been nearly emptied during the war, gradually revived as a cultural and commercial center. The Chinese community, which had faced earlier exclusion laws and discrimination, expanded after restrictions eased. Chinatown, which had been relocated in 1939 to make way for Union Station, developed into a thriving neighborhood around North Broadway. Filipino immigrants, many initially arriving as agricultural workers, established communities in areas like historic Filipino Town near downtown. After immigration laws changed in 1965, removing quotas that had severely restricted Asian immigration. New waves arrived from Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, India, Pakistan, Iran, and many other nations. Korean immigrants began arriving in larger numbers in the 1960s and 1970s, many settling along Olympic Boulevard in an area that became known as Koreatown. By the 1990s, Koreatown had become one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in Los Angeles. A vibrant area filled with Korean restaurants, shops, churches, businesses, and cultural institutions, though increasingly diverse as other groups also settled there. Thai immigrants created Thai Town along Hollywood Boulevard, marking it with ornate gates and filling the street with restaurants serving authentic cuisine. The Vietnamese community, which swelled after the fall of Saigon in 1975, established Little Saigon in nearby Orange County, but maintained strong connections to Los Angeles. From Latin America, immigration patterns shifted over the decades. The Mexican-American community, with roots predating American acquisition of California, grew substantially throughout the 20th century. East Los Angeles became the heart of Mexican-American culture, a place where Spanish was the dominant language, where mariachi music filled the air on weekends, where traditional celebrations like Dia de los Muertos and Quinceañeras maintained cultural continuity across generations. Immigration from Central America increased dramatically during the 1980s, as civil wars in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua sent refugees northward seeking safety. The Pico Union neighborhood near downtown became home to large Salvadoran and Guatemalan communities. The Middle Eastern diaspora added another dimension to the city's diversity. Armenians fleeing persecution and genocide in Ottoman Turkey and later escaping communist rule created substantial communities in Glendale and Hollywood. The Armenian population in Greater Los Angeles grew to become the largest concentration of Armenians outside Armenia itself. Iranian immigrants, many arriving after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, settled in areas like Westwood and Beverly Hills, establishing businesses and cultural institutions. Ethiopian immigrants created Little Ethiopia along Fairfax Avenue, their restaurants and cultural centers adding to the neighborhood's already diverse character, which also included longtime Jewish institutions and a growing Orthodox Jewish population. Today, Los Angeles County is home to people from over 140 countries who speak 224 different languages, making it one of the most linguistically and culturally diverse places on Earth. This isn't just a statistic, but a lived reality visible in every neighborhood, heard in every school, tasted in every commercial district. The fusion of all these cultures created something uniquely Los Angeles, a hybrid identity that couldn't exist anywhere else. Mexican-Korean fusion tacos, a culinary innovation born in LA food trucks, symbolize this creative cross-pollination. Ethiopian jazz musicians collaborate with Japanese-American producers. Armenian-American artists explore themes of displacement alongside Chicano muralists documenting their own communities' histories. This diversity found expression not just in neighborhoods, but in the city's food scene, which became one of the world's most varied and exciting. You could, in theory, eat at a different ethnic restaurant every day for years without repeating a cuisine. The taco trucks that line busy streets serve everything from traditional Mexican carnitas to Korean short-rib tacos. The San Gabriel Valley, just east of Los Angeles proper, became known for some of the best Chinese food outside China, with restaurants serving regional specialties from Sichuan, Hunan, Shanghai, and Canton. Little Armenia in East Hollywood offered authentic Armenian bakeries and restaurants. In Koreatown, 24-hour Korean barbecue restaurants stayed open through the night, serving grilled meats and banchan side dishes to crowds that could include Korean families, young professionals of every ethnicity, and late-night workers ending their shifts. The city's religious diversity matched its ethnic variety. Catholic churches, reflecting the Spanish colonial heritage and later immigration from Latin America and the Philippines, occupied prominent positions in many neighborhoods. But synagogues, mosques, Buddhist temples, Hindu temples, Sikh gurdwaras, and houses of worship representing dozens of other faiths also dotted the landscape. The Islamic Center of Southern California, established in the 1950s, became an important institution for the growing Muslim community. The Wat Thai Temple in the San Fernando Valley served as both a religious center and community gathering place for Thai Buddhists. The Shi Lei Temple in nearby Hacienda Heights, one of the largest Buddhist temples in the Western Hemisphere, attracted visitors from around the world. East Los Angeles became the heart of the Mexican-American community. Koreatown developed along Olympic Boulevard. Thai Town emerged on Hollywood Boulevard. Little Ethiopia, Little Armenia, Little Tokyo, and Chinatown each carved out their own spaces. This cultural richness influenced every aspect of city life, from cuisine to music to art. The fusion of traditions created something uniquely Los Angeles, a cultural hybrid that couldn't exist anywhere else. The economy diversified beyond entertainment and oil. The aerospace industry became a major employer, with companies like Douglas Aircraft, Lockheed, and later Boeing and SpaceX establishing operations. The Port of Los Angeles, developed beginning in the early 1900s, grew into the busiest container port in the Western Hemisphere, holding that distinction for 23 consecutive years. The fashion industry flourished in the downtown garment district. Technology companies gravitated to Silicon Beach, the coastal area stretching from Santa Monica to El Segundo, creating a tech hub to rival Northern California. Tourism became a massive industry, with millions visiting annually to experience Hollywood. The beaches, Disneyland in nearby Anaheim, and the general allure of Southern California, the city's educational and cultural institutions, expanded alongside its economy. The University of Southern California, founded in 1880, became one of the nation's leading research universities. UCLA grew into a powerhouse of academics and athletics. The California Institute of Technology in Pasadena became synonymous with cutting-edge science and engineering. Museums proliferated. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art, opened in 1965, built world-class collections spanning millennia. The Getty Center, perched on a hilltop in Brentwood and opened in 1997, became famous both for its architecture by Richard Meier and its extraordinary art collections. The Museum of Contemporary Art, the Hammer Museum, the Broad, and countless smaller institutions made Los Angeles a major art destination. Natural landmarks provided escapes from urban intensity. Griffith Park, donated to the city in 1896 by mining magnate Griffith J. Griffith, encompasses over 4,000 acres of rugged terrain. The Griffith Observatory, which opened in 1935, offers visitors stunning views of the city below and the cosmos above. Hiking trails wind through the Santa Monica Mountains, offering glimpses of bobcats, coyotes, and if you're lucky, even mountain lions that somehow persist despite the urban encroachment. The beaches, from Malibu's exclusive shores to the democratic sands of Santa Monica, Venice, and Manhattan Beach, provide access to the Pacific's endless blue. The city faced challenges as it grew. Smog became a serious problem by the 1940s and 1950s, a consequence of millions of cars, industrial facilities, and the basin's geography, which traps air pollution. Strict regulations eventually improved air quality, though challenges remain. Earthquakes periodically reminded residents of the tectonic forces beneath their feet. The 1994 Northridge earthquake caused extensive damage and over 60 deaths. Water scarcity remains an ongoing concern, with droughts periodically forcing conservation measures. Wildfires, always a risk in Southern California's dry climate. have grown more frequent and intense, with devastating fires in recent years destroying thousands of structures and forcing evacuations. Social tensions also marked the city's history. The Watts riots of 1965 and the Rodney King riots of 1992 exposed deep racial and economic divides. Gang violence plagued certain neighborhoods for decades. Homelessness became increasingly visible, particularly in downtown Skid Row and in encampments that appeared in neighborhoods across the city. These challenges persist, testing the city's resilience and requiring ongoing attention and resources. Yet, Los Angeles has repeatedly demonstrated remarkable capacity for reinvention and resilience. The city that began as a small Spanish pueblo has become a sprawling metropolis of nearly 4 million people within city limits and over 18 million in the greater metropolitan area. It produces more than $1 trillion in economic output annually, making it one of the world's largest economies. It remains the entertainment capital, though the industry itself has evolved. Streaming services have joined traditional studios. Video games and social media create new forms of storytelling. The definition of entertainment keeps expanding, and Los Angeles adapts with it. Looking ahead to the next few years, the city prepares for extraordinary moments. In 2026, Los Angeles will host multiple matches for the FIFA World Cup, welcoming soccer fans from around the globe to venues like SoFi Stadium and the Rose Bowl. The new museums opening this year, the Lucas Museum, the Armenian American Museum in Glendale, and Dataland, the world's first museum of high arts in downtown, will add to the city's cultural richness. The completion of various metro lines will continue expanding public transportation options, slowly shifting the car-centric culture that has defined Los Angeles for so long. And then comes 2028. The Summer Olympics will return to Los Angeles for the third time, with 36 sports across 49 venues throughout the region. The opening ceremony at the Coliseum and SoFi Stadium promises to be spectacular. For the first time in Olympic history, more women than men will compete. New sports like flag football and squash will make their debuts. Oklahoma City will host softball and canoe events, spreading the Olympic spirit beyond Southern California. The organizing committee has pledged to make these the most sustainable Olympics ever, utilizing existing venues rather than constructing new ones, implementing a transit-first approach, and emphasizing environmental responsibility. The anticipation builds quietly, almost imperceptibly, like morning mist rising from the Pacific. The city prepares not through grand proclamations, but through thousands of small actions. Workers installing new rail lines, planners coordinating logistics, residents imagining the moment when the world's attention turns to their home. Los Angeles has always been a city of dreams, where people came seeking reinvention, opportunity, or simply better weather. Some dreams materialized while others faded, but the dream-making never stopped. As you lie there now, perhaps drifting between waking and sleep, consider the journey we've traveled together. From the Tongva people gathering acorns by the Los Angeles River to conquistadors claiming land in distant kings' names. From 44 settlers circling a dusty plaza to millions navigating freeways that stretch from mountains to sea. From silent films flickering in converted barns to computer-generated imagery creating impossible worlds. From orange groves perfuming the air to skyscrapers piercing clouds. The story of Los Angeles is many stories, threads woven together into something complex, contradictory, and uniquely compelling. The city sleeps now under its famous smog-free night sky, stars visible again thanks to decades of environmental regulation. The Pacific whispers against beaches where indigenous people once harvested shellfish. The Hollywood sign glows, visible from valleys below where coyotes prowl and owls hunt. The port of Los Angeles never truly rests, container ships arriving from Asia, their cargo traveling inland to every corner of the continent. In downtown lofts, in suburban houses, in hillside mansions, in temporary shelters, people dreamed their own dreams, adding their threads to the ongoing narrative. And so our journey through Los Angeles comes to a gentle close, like the sun setting over the Pacific, painting the sky in colors that never quite repeat. The facts and stories we've shared tonight are just fragments of an immense mosaic, tiny pieces of something vast and ever-changing. There's always more to discover, more to learn, more to experience in this city of angels. Thank you for joining us on Restful Realities. If you enjoyed this journey, please subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Your support helps us continue creating these peaceful explorations. And again, tell us in the comments where you're watching from tonight. We'd love to know where in the world you're resting as these stories wash over you. May your dreams tonight be as vast as the Los Angeles basin, as warm as its sunshine, as varied as its neighborhoods, and as peaceful as morning mist rising slowly from the sea. Sleep well, dear listener. Until we meet again, safe travels through the landscapes of sleep. Good night.